Hi everybody, in this video I was going to show you how to do your shading on Desmos. One thing is, before we even get to the shading, is your lines need to intersect. So as I have my constraints set up here, these two aren't even intersecting. The reason that's a problem is because the, let's see, it's this one, the blue portion isn't even really doing anything. Like, it's a shaded area, but it's already shaded anyway from the red. So it's not helpful. It's not doing anything. We have to make it so that they intersect. The way you do that, and you're going to have to change your word problem a little bit, but you can kind of play with the numbers. So like right now, my red equation is 3x plus 4y is less than or equal to 48. Let's say I try changing that to like 35. That didn't help. Oops. 35. Okay, that's better. See, because we're getting closer, but it's not quite there. So what if I go to 30? Okay, this is, again, better because at least they're intersecting each other like where I can see it, but it's still not good enough because still the red line is doing all the work and the blue line is meaningless. So I'm actually going to change that one more time. Maybe I'm going to take that down to 24. Okay. Now I have an actual intersection point, and that's what I want to see. If your lines are not intersecting in the first quadrant, then there needs to be a reason, and you probably need to change them. So you'll have to change your word problem, and so just adjust some things to make it so where they do hit each other. What I was just doing a second ago is I was changing the final amount, like the C. If this was standard form, this would be the C. But you could also change the ones, you know, the A or the B, and you could see what that does for you as well. So that's an option too. But I'm going to change it so that it's like this. Now I have a good intersection point that I can see. Now, we need to talk about shading because right now this shading is a mess. So I'm going to change my shading a little bit. Here's what I'm going to do. These top two are kind of my main inequalities, right? Like the other ones are, you know, they're important, but they're not huge. What I want to do is I'm just going to pick one of them to stay the same. So the top one, I'm going to keep it the same. And then I'm going to put these braces in here. And I'm going to copy and paste that into it. And I'm also going to copy and paste my zero equations. The x is greater than or equal to 0 and the y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. Now I have all four of them on the same line basically. It's just that a lot of them are in the braces and some of them are just regular inequality. Another thing is, just as a side note, you can expand this window. So like if your equations, like you're having a hard time finding it, expand it just by dragging it, okay? So here are my equations. I have all three in one. So now, watch what happens if I just hide these equations. Okay, that actually looks like a pretty good deal, right? The only thing it's missing is I'm missing the lines. So I'm going to turn those back on. And I'm going to change these all. Instead of a less than, I'm just going to make it equal to. Oops. Same thing here. Same thing here. Now, pretty good, but I still am missing a piece of a line over here, and that is this first equation that I have, the 3x plus 4y. So I'm going to copy that and make a new one, and I'm going to make it equals, and now I have a line. So now, if you took a screenshot, I'm going to like squeeze it down here, like if you took a screenshot, you would have a good graph. If you wanted to cut off these lines, these little trailing lines, you could. You could do that also. Let me say one more thing before I go to that. I'm going to show you how to do that. Another thing is, I want you to have, see how I had it down here? Like, I want your screenshot to have the axis and to have your graph, of course, and to have it a decent size. So actually, like if I took a screenshot of, hang on. If I took a screenshot of this whole thing, I actually think that's a bad screenshot. Let me tell you why. I feel like there's too much white space. I don't want that much white space, okay? So let me instead zoom in a little bit, which you can do with your fingers or you can do with those plus and minus. This is much better. There's not as much white space. So now if I took a screenshot here, I feel like this would give me a better graph. I could see it better. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I'm going to paste that into my Google slide, and then I'm going to, in Google Slides, I'm going to make a text box to label my y-axis and a text box to label my x-axis, and also some kind of a title. Every graph needs a title and it needs the axes labeled, so do that. The last thing I want to talk about is how can I get rid of those extra lines. First of all, if you don't want to, it's no big deal because you're going to take a screenshot anyway. But if you do want to get rid of them just because that makes you feel better, you can do that. The way you do that is, so next to the equal sign, so this, I'll start at the bottom one here. Next to this equal sign, if I do braces and I say, I have to think about it, that 0 is less than x is less than 10. Nope, that's too big. 8. Okay, and I actually want to make those equal to. Okay, so what I was making a domain. So the domain here is from 0 on that line, on that solid line. I wanted that solid line to go from 0 to 8. Okay, and I can do the same thing on the blue line. I can go up there and say braces, 0 is less than or equal to, x is less than or equal to, and this time I've lost it, so I'm going to just put it back on there. I'll say 10. Oh good, 10 worked. And so that's where I want it. So that's how you can cut off those pieces if you want to cut off those pieces. All right, I hope this helps you to come up with your graph. Make sure when you do it, you also do axes are labeled in the slide, and you take a good graph with not too much white space.